What is this? Yup, that's me, Izzy. I bet you're wondering how I got myself into this mess. Well, I'll tell you, by buying cheaply made and overpriced outfits. I am angry. I am so angry. Okay, maybe I'm not really that angry, but I'm upset because I have only worn this dress one time, and I didn't even go out in it. I wore this dress once to make a video, and it rewarded me with the grand prize of a home. I've been trying to learn embroidery. So because now I've been watching a lot of embroidery videos, I also end up watching a lot of videos about sewing and people sewing their own clothes. From those videos, I learned about finishings and the good practices when it comes to sewing, and it's a very poorly made dress. It's awful, and I paid a lot of money for this dress, and now I'm regretting it because I figured that I could have just took like half of the money I spent on this dress and probably made my own and made it better. I can't sew. Okay, before any of you jump up and say, well, how could you have made it better if you can't sew? That is besides the point. The point is that I'm pretty sure if I tried, I could make this dress way better. So you know what? Me, Izzy, I am not going to ever be duped again, because I am going to be making all my clothes myself for the year 2023. There is a saying that goes, once you believe that you can do something, or you believe that you have something you want, you are halfway there. So you know what that means? That tells me that I know half of everything it takes to sew your own clothes already. A good place to start is, what do you need to sew your clothes for 2023 if you are a beginner? Obviously, the first thing I will need, or anybody else, would be a sewing machine. In searching for a sewing machine, there's just so much information out there. There's so many brands of sewing machines, so many types of sewing machines. That's just enough to drive a woman crazy and make her not want to sew her own clothes. But, we are not going to be in that mode, because we are sewing all our clothes. We are no longer going to be buying cheaply made clothes, all right? So I was able to kind of narrow things down that helped my search for a sewing machine go a little easier. There are things that you want to take into consideration, according to the gurus, when you are buying your first sewing machine. The sewing machine has to have 4 basic stitches, basically. As long as your sewing machine can make a straight stitch, a zigzag stitch, a reverse stitch, and a buttonhole stitch, you're straight. Everything else above these 4 basic stitches are decorative, and they serve some purpose that you and I, as beginner sewers, are probably not going to be needing it for. Everything else is just like icing on the cake. So that makes it a little easier. It makes you know that you don't need to be worrying about, should I get one with 30 stitches? Should I get one with 50 stitches? Oh my God, maybe 100 stitches. Forget about that. Just look for those 4 stitches. Next, we need to be able to make 3 basic adjustments to our stitch. The width of the stitch, the length of the stitch, and the tension. After that, we need to worry about how we replace the bobbin. So there are 2 types of bobbin replacement ways. There's machines that allow you to drop in the bobbin, and there's front-loading bobbin machines. The easiest one for beginners is the drop-in bobbin. So basically, you pop a little opening at the top of the plate thingy, and you can just bloop, drop the bobbin in. I did learn that the reason most expert sewers like sewing machines with a front load bobbin is because the front loading bobbin actually makes the sewing machine go faster. You make faster stitches. I guess that will come in handy if you have to crank out 100 dresses in 2 nights or something. After that, something that will be very handy, or that we should ensure that we have on our beginner sewing machine, is a free arm. Basically that part in front of the sewing machine that you can just pull out like this, pull it out, and this allows for you to be able to maneuver smaller items of clothing when you're sewing, like stuff like sleeves and I guess little itty bitty baby clothes. After that, we need the sewing machine to have the threader and cutter. The threader makes it easier to thread the needle, and the cutter makes it easier to just snip the thread when you're finished sewing or stitching. And finally, after that, we need to be worried about, why do I keep saying worry? You don't have to worry about any of these things. I just take into consideration the weight of the sewing machine. You can either get a heavy sewing machine or a light sewing machine. The disadvantage of a heavy sewing machine is that it's heavy. It's not going to be easily moved. So if you know that you have a sewing space and you do not need to move your sewing machine, and you're not planning to take your sewing machine anywhere, go ahead and have a sewing machine, a heavy sewing machine, because they can also manage heavy materials and lots of sewing. If you don't have a space to plant your sewing machine, or maybe you're going to be going all over the place with your sewing machine as your buddy at your side or something, you might want a lighter sewing machine. And the only thing is, if you do get a light sewing machine, it's not going to be able to properly handle heavier materials, or you would not be able to do a lot of sewing and bigger projects on the sewing machine. So I guess it just all depends on what you want to use your sewing machine for. Whew, and that was a mouthful. I ended up ordering the Brother ST 150 HDH sewing machine. So that's the Brother Strong and Tough computerized sewing machine. It's almost like a little partial industrial machine, I guess. It's great for beginners because it has all the basic features that I mentioned, and apart from that, it was able to sew through 24 layers of cotton canvas, 10 layers of leather, and 10 layers of denim. Yeah, that is crazy for a sewing machine that was looking that small. Here are some other items that will come in handy as a beginner sewer. Cloth. Stay away from stretchy, silky, or any other material that's hard to work with. Our aim is to practice, so let's make it easy on ourselves. This is brown cotton. It's all I had on hand. I use it to practice embroidery, but it will come in handy to practice basic stitches and other little projects. Next, we'll need some measuring tools. I have here a tape measure, French curve, and some rulers. You definitely need to get your hands on a good pair of fabric scissors and a separate pair of paper scissors. And if you want to, you can add in pinking scissors, rotary cutter, and nippers. Pins and needles are a definite necessity. Here I have different hand sewing and embroidery needles, but you'll also need different sizes of sewing machine needles, which I don't have to show because they're coming with my sewing machine when it's delivered. These other needles here have a large plastic bulb. I just got what was available, but it's better to actually get needles that have a glass head because they don't melt if you happen to press them with your iron. As you can see, I don't have a pin cushion, and you will definitely need one. I don't have one because I couldn't find one at the time, or were sold out. So that's going to be one of my first projects that I'm going to make, and I am going to make it fancy, definitely. Next, you're gonna need some seam rippers. I have here two different sizes, a big one and a small one. They're basically the erasers of sewing, because you can rip the stitches out if you make a mistake and you can start over, and of course they come in handy for when you are cutting out your buttonholes. Of course, you cannot use your sewing machine without thread. These are just basic 100% polyester thread, and polyester sew-all thread is ideal for sewing, so I've heard. Next, you'll need some marking tools. I have here water washable fabric marker. I have a pen, a pencil, and some tailor's chalk in different colors. You'll also need some paper for your pattern, as well as pattern tracing paper. Finally, you'll need a surface to cut on. This is a self-healing cutting mat, but you don't actually have to get one. I just always saw it and always wanted one. It's obviously not big enough, but I like it. You can cut on any surface, whether it's a table or even the floor. Just use whatever is available. I almost forgot to include an iron and an ironing board. You definitely need one. You should always iron out your seams as you make them, because apparently it makes your work 100 times better and makes it neater and makes everything easier. There you have it, girls. That is it. That is all I have for you in terms of the things that you would need to get started sewing, things that I need to get started sewing for 2023. I am so excited for this. I am pumped. Hopefully you guys will join me on this journey. Maybe you learn a thing or two. Tell me whether or not I am doing good, doing bad, doing whatever. This video for me was fun to make, so thank you if you found this even the slightest bit entertaining, and if you found it helpful in any way, why don't you just show me some love by pressing the subscribe button and the notification bell, so that you can get updates from me, updates about what, updates of my smiley face, updates to give you a good time, and let's just have fun updates. That's all I have to say. Goodbye for now, and hopefully maybe the next time you see me around, I will be making something, or trying to make something, or getting started in making something. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good night, and be blessed.